Ciao. Hola. Hey. Hello. Konnichiwa. Привет. Annyeonghaseyo. Hello everybody to today's quiz show. Let's say today we are going to talk about the last month of World War II. This is the first part of the video. I'm going to ask you trivia questions, but you don't have to answer them. You need to absorb them to become extremely smart, like actually smart. It's going to be 25 questions and you are going to love it. So lay down, put your earphones in, whatever you have. If you are blasting it on TV, it's fine too. And let's start. At the battle for Castle Yeti, American troops teamed up with an unlikely ally to fight off an SS division. Who did they fight alongside? A. Soviet paratroopers. B. The German Wehrmacht. C. French partisans. Or D. Swiss guards. So who did American troops teamed up with at the battle for Castle Yeti? Yeah, and it was German Wehrmacht, actually. In the strangest battle of the war, US forces fought alongside anti-Nazi German soldiers and French VIP prisoners to defend a medieval Austrian castle. Very interesting, very interesting. Number 2. In Operation Cowboy, US General Patton ordered his troops to crash through German lines in April 1945 to rescue what? A. Priceless violins. B. Rare Lipizzaner horses Lipizzaner. C. A cache of a fine wine cage, fine wine, basically fine wine. D. Captured US generals. So in Operation Cowboy, what did they try to rescue? Is that dog barking all the time? Dogs. So it's B. Rare Lipizzaner horses. Patton, an old cavalryman, sent his tanks to save hundreds of these majestic dancing horses from ending up as horse meat on the plates of the advancing Soviet army. As Soviets would devour them, they were hungry. Number 3. What mutiny took place on the Dutch island of Texel in April 1945, famously dubbed Europe's last battlefield? A. British POWs revolting. B. Georgians fighting the Germans. C. German sailors refusing orders. Or D. Dutch civilians seizing arms. So what did happen on the island of Texel? And it was Georgians fighting the Germans. Soviet Georgian soldiers who had been conscripted by the Nazis finally turned famous SS Division, composed primarily of French volunteers, was among the very last defenders of Hitler's chancellery in Berlin. Number A. Charlemagne. Number B. Das Reich. Number C. Totenkopf. And number D, letter D, Viking. So it was Charlemagne, Das Reich, Totenkopf, or Viking. And it was Charlemagne. In supreme stroke of irony, some of the very last soldiers dying to defend the German Führer in his bunker were actually Frenchmen. Crazy, isn't it? Number 5. During the Battle of Berlin, the Soviets employed extremely heavy artillery, including the massive P-4 howitzer. How much did one of its shells weight? Number or A, 50 kilograms or 110 pounds. 100 kilograms, 220 pounds. 250 kilograms, 550 pounds, or 500 kilograms, 1,100 pounds. So how much did weight P-4 howitzer shell? And it was 100 kilograms, 220 pounds. This monstrous piece of artillery was originally meant to be fired from miles away, but the Soviets were rolling them right down the streets of Berlin to blast buildings point blank. Number 6. What was the objective of the Allied Operation Jawhound and Operation Mana in late April 1945? A. Dropping food to starving Dutch civilians. B. Poisoning German water supplies. C. Stealing German livestock. Or D. Capturing German chefs. So what was objective of Allied Operation Jawhound and Operation Mana? And it was dropping food to starving Dutch civilians. Allied bombers flew at just 120 meters, 400 feet if you like feet, to drop massive food rations to the Dutch. And the Germans surprisingly agreed to a local truce and held their anti-aircraft fire. On April 7, 1945, the Luftwaffe deployed Sonderkommando Elbe. What was this unit's desperate mission? Dropping chemical weapons, Kamikazes-style ramming of Allied bombers, fleeing to South America, or dropping counterfeit money. And it was Kamikaze-style ramming of Allied bombers. So they blasted into the bombers. Young German pilots stripped the armor and weapons of their Bf-109s to make them fast enough to literally smash into American B-70s midair. Where did the very last recognized battle of World War II in Europe take place? Oh my god. Ending on May 25. It was Crete, Greece. in Europe. Crete, Greece, Prague, Czechoslovakia, Heligoland, Germany, or Odjak, Yugoslavia, and it was Odjak, Yugoslavia. Long after the High Command surrendered, a heavily fortified pocket of Croatian Utasha forces fought Yugoslav partisans for 2 weeks after V-Day, Victory Day. Number 9. The last American soldier killed in action in Europe, Charvey Havlat, died in which country on May 7, 1945, just hours before the ceasefire? So, Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, or Italy. So, last, Charlie Havlat, last American soldier, and it was in Czechoslovakia. Havlat was tragically shot by an unaware German officer during a skirmish. Ironically, he was a Czech-American fighting in his parents' homeland. Wow, that's sad. That's sad, but now you know his name. Charlie Havlat. I didn't know that. The tragic sinking of the SS Cap Arcona on May 3rd by the RAF killed thousands of people who was secretly abroad. SS Cap Arcona. So, top Nazi officials, concentration camp prisoners, captured British spies, escaping U-boat captains. So who was on the SS Cap Arcona? It was concentration camp prisoners. In a horrific friendly fire tragedy, British pilots bombed the ship, believing it carried fleeing SS officers, completely unaware the Nazis had packed it with dying prisoners. Wow, I didn't know that. On April 16, the Soviets launched their massive assault on Berlin, from which heavily defended geographical feature. It was from the Black Forest. It was from the Bavarian Alps, the Rhine River Valley, or the Seelow Heights. Attack on Berlin. Well, you can maybe eliminate some, and it was the Seelow Heights. The Soviets illuminated the battlefield with 143 massive searchlights to blind the Germans, but the light just bounced off the heavy smoke and blinded their own troops. In April 1945, what desperate mode of transportation did the German military use to move the 12th Army to relieve Berlin? It was a fleet of rowboats, civilian buses, stolen bicycles, or hot air balloons. So what did the German military use to move the 12th Army to relieve Berlin? And it was stolen bicycles. The mighty German war machine was completely out of fuel, forcing thousands of retreating soldiers to pedal to the front line like angry paper boys. Which infamous piece of infrastructure was intentionally destroyed by the SS in late April to prevent Soviet advancement, drowning thousands of civilians hiding within? The Berlin Zoo the Reichstag water tower, the Berlin S-Bahn tunnels, or the Spree River Dam. So what did SS destroy to prevent Soviets? And it was the Berlin S-Bahn tunnels. The SS blew the retaining walls of the Landwehrkanal, flooding the underground rail network, where thousands of wounded soldiers and terrified civilians had sought shelter. What unique insignia did the Hitler Youth soldiers wear when defending the bridges of Berlin during the final month? A. Red bandanas, armbands cut from Nazi flags, oversized steel helmets, or golden eagle pins. And it was armbands cut from Nazi flags, because they had run out of proper uniforms. These brainwashed kids just ripped up the ubiquitous swastika flags and tied them around their civilian clothes. During the Battle of Halbe, trapped German forces were desperate to break out. In which direction? Well, so north to the Baltic, east to fight the Soviets, west to surrender to the Americans, or the south to the Alps. It was, of course, west to surrender to Americans, because you don't want to get surrendered to Soviets. In one of the bloodiest breakouts of the war, 30,000 Germans fought through Soviet lines entirely because they knew Soviet POW camps meant certain death. Americans didn't do that. How far from Hitler's bunker were the Soviet forces when the German dictator finally took his own life on April 30th? 16 kilometers, 10 miles, 8 kilometers, 5 miles, 1.6 kilometers, 1 mile, less than 500 meters, 1,640 feet. And it was the less than 500 meters, 1,640 feet. The Red Army was literally just a street or two away, meaning Hitler could probably hear the Russian infantry shouting over the sound of incoming artillery. What weapon, known as the Panzerfaust, became the primary defense tool for German civilians drafted in final days? A remote-controlled mine, a flamethrower, a single-use anti-tank rocket, or a sniper rifle. So what is Panzerfaust? And it's, of course, a single-use anti-tank rocket. This cheap, disposable, pipe-like weapon was handed out like candy to old men and teenagers. It had a terrible range, but could punch a hole clean through a Soviet tank. Number 18. On April 25, 1945, US and Soviet forces finally met, splitting Germany in two. On what river did this historic meeting take place? On the Rhine, on the Danube, on the Elbe, or on the Volga? So where did they meet? US and Soviets, and it was on the Elbe. The The soldiers celebrated wildly, traded uniform badges, and drank heavily. It was one of the last moments of genuine friendship between the two superpowers before the Cold War began. What bizarre tactic did US soldiers of the 69th Infantry use to prove their identity to the approaching Red Army at Torgau? Singing the Star-Spangled Banner, firing green flares, painting a massive Coca-Cola logo on a sheet, or holding up a US flag painted on bedsheet. So what did they use to show Soviets that they are actually Americans? And it was the holding up a Soviet flag painted on bedsheet. Fearing friendly fire, the Americans hastily painted red stripes and blue stars onto a stolen German bedsheet to say, hey, don't shoot, we are the good guys. Number 20. Which European capital initiated a massive civilian uprising against the occupying Germans on May 5th, right as the war was ending? It was Paris, Oslo, Prague, or Warsaw. So which city? And it was Prague. I know that because I'm Czech. The Czech resistance seized the radio stations and fought the SS tooth and nail for 4 days until the Red Army finally rolled into the city on May 9th. Who officiated Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun's underground bunker vetting on April 29th, 1945? That's an interesting question. It was Joseph Goebbels, a low-level municipal clerk, a high-ranking SS priest, or Heinrich Himmler. And it was a low-level municipal clerk. They dragged Walter Wagner, Walter Wagner, a minor city official fighting in a militia unit, into the bunker to perform the ceremony. He awkwardly asked them to confirm they were a pure Aryan descent before signing the papers, which they were not. Definitely not. Next, what was the name of Hitler's beloved German shepherd, who was poisoned with cyanide in the bunker to test the capsules? It was the name of Hitler's German shepherd, and it was Wolf, Prince, Blondie, or Rex. Wolf, Prince, Blondie, or Rex. And it was Blondie. Hitler didn't trust the cyanide given to him by Himmler, so he tested it on his favorite companion. When the dog died instantly, Hitler was supposedly absolutely devastated. Joseph and Magda Goebbels poisoned their 6 children in the bunker. What was the chilling commonality of their children's names? They all meant victory. They all started with the letter H. They were all named after Norse gods, or they were all named after Wagnerian opera characters. This is like the pure trivia that you want to know. This is like cool stuff that you can tell somebody. And they all started with the letter H. Helga, Hildegard, Helmut, Holdin, Hedwig, and Hadrian, all given age names as a twisted tribute to their beloved uncle Hitler. Number 24. How did the Soviets definitely identify Hitler's burned remains outside the bunker? A. By his mustache, by his custom uniform buttons, through dental records, or through his dog tags, like soldier dog tags. And it was through dental records the Soviets tracked down Goethe Hausermann, an assistant to Hitler's dentist, who perfectly sketched his uniquely terrible bridge work from memory. And the last question, who was Hermann Fegelein, the man Hitler had executed for desertion just days before committing suicide? His personal pilot, Eva Braun's brother-in-law, his favorite chef, or the bunker architect? Hermann Fegelein. And it was Eva Braun's brother-in-law. Fegelein was married to Eva's sister, but when he was caught trying to flee Berlin in civilian clothes with stolen jewels and a mistress, Hitler showed absolutely no family mercy. So, I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something. And even though these are a little bit like not very pleasant, let's say not very relaxing questions, they are still very interesting, especially for history buffs as you and me, you know who I'm talking to. And if you want other parts, let me know. I have one other question. If you like this style of video, definitely subscribe, leave a like, write something that was interesting, that you liked, what should I improve, what should I do otherwise, and I will see you in the next video.